Hey guys, it's Sash with the 5th episode on CSGO Basics, and in this one I'm going to be covering really simply movement. A lot of people understand that movement is something that you need to get better in CSGO to become a better player. People all understand how important movement is, and people know how to train movement, so I'm not going to be going through them. But what I'm going to be discussing a little bit and going into depth is how movement can really help you a lot more than some people think. And potentially it'll help you realize why some people are hitting shots on you that you're not hitting, and why people are hitting shots on you at all. And I'm just going to start with the real basics of movement and then go into a few advanced techniques that work in separate situations. So first of all, you move faster with your knife out. You move faster with your pistol out than your AK out. Your AK slower than an M4, M4 quicker than an AK. You ever wondered why a terrorist uses an M4? Generally, the pros will use it to entry frag because you have a higher movement. When you have a higher movement speed, you're much harder to track with someone's crosshair. Imagine some guy running at you with a Tech 9, close range, you're panicking, he's all up in you, he's really quick, really hard to track. Okay, he's got a favorable advantage because he's caught you off guard, first problem. Second problem is that he's moving really quick, it's quite difficult to adjust your aim, maybe your aim's a bit shaky, maybe you're not quite able to track him perfectly. Now, consider the same scenario, some guy just runs at you with an AK. First off, it's inaccurate. He's really slow. You don't see people entry fragging with negevs for this reason. Now, obviously I'm exaggerating a lot of things, but I'm going to go into depth a little bit more as to how you can do a few certain things that you maybe didn't think about. Now, the first being, when you're entry fragging, do I need my AK out the whole time? Firstly, most likely. Secondly, you don't have to. So a lot of entry fraggers that I play with, for pugs and things, when I play with them, I'll just come into the back of A main, anywhere around here, anywhere behind this door is pretty good. Pop flash different things, but the pop flash I use, you basically come up to this red thing, you just left click. That pop flash, it either goes really deep, blinds everyone on the left, or you can aim a little bit higher or double click, all depending on the pop flash you want to throw. Now, regardless of what you're throwing, your entry fragger is going to have his knife out and he's going to be going in backwards. Going in backwards means you're not going to be blind, and it also means that you're going to be a little bit harder to hit because when someone's looking at you, well, I'll go into that a little bit later. But you're going in backwards, you're strafing round so you're not blind, and as soon as you come round, you're going to be looking up here. That's your entry frag. Then you're coming in here and you start clearing the angles and you start clearing things methodically as an entry fragger. But the important part is that you had the initial movement speed with your knife out. And because you had your knife out, you can not only make it further without dying, but you also make it harder for you to die. Now imagine this, someone takes an AWP shot at you from MBK and he misses and eventually you push him on MBK. Is it better for him to just stand there and look at you while reloading? Or is it better for him to sort of do a little bit of a jump, a little bit of a flail, and then go for a second shot on you? Obviously, it's harder for him to die when he's flailing about. But it's a lot easier for him to keep his crosshair on you, so the minimum amount of time, and he'll just shoot you again. There's a big difference between the two. And what you want to be is in the situation where you can do both. You can flail around a little bit, and what I like to do is do a little circle so that I can always come back to the same spot. In the same way that you have flick aim and you can flick to the same place again, you just sort of do a little circle, or you can do a 360 and you come back to roughly the same spot every single time, just from muscle memory. Now, one thing to consider from movement is how Scream used to play CS when it first came out, and how 1.6 players had perfect accuracy. So they would hold A, they would tap D, and they're completely accurate. They would hold D, tap A, and they're completely accurate because they're stationary. And Scream took this to a new level, and he would tap while moving. And he would slowly traverse while also his head is jiggling. His head is still moving, so it's very difficult to hit. You've got to sort of jiggle with him. So you're now moving to try and hit him. So you're now easier to kill from him, and you're putting yourself in a potentially easier position to kill, but also easier position to frag. Now, a little juxtaposition between the two is instead of just tapping, is to go for little bursts And you don't have to worry about whether you're being accurate constantly. You don't have to worry about how accurate you're being in between the bursts. And that takes me to the next stage, is where you're trying not to die, but also entry frag, and you're in a bit of a scrappy situation. And a lot of people ask me, how the hell are you getting these kills when you're essentially just running at the guy? But you know your spray control, and whenever you stop moving, you're actually accurate. And you see there's a large majority of shots near the general direction to where I was aiming, just because of me cancelling my movement a long time. Another thing you can do, which really helps you entry frag, is as soon as you entry, and maybe you hit one B-hop, and then you're crouching and spraying. Now, when you're crouching and spraying, they're not hitting your body as much, because they're going to be hitting you, then they're going to be aiming for your head. If you crouch under them, they've got to readjust their position. It's all about throwing them off balance, making yourself die much slower. This puts your teammates in a better advantage to follow up your entry frag, and it generally helps you out a lot. A couple things to consider just on the basis of movement is, you know, people run around in pugs, and people with generally decent aim at a generally high skill level are just going to run around with a deagle because they're taking a high risk, because they don't really care about their own life. They've only invested $700, and they're also making themselves very difficult to kill because they're running really, really quickly across your screen from a far distance. The best way to kill these guys is to slow them down. Now, CSGO recently introduced a mechanic. I say recently, it wasn't very recent, but they introduced a tagging mechanic where you shoot people in the body and it slows them down. This is very, very effective on CT side to stop T rushes, to stop entry fraggers getting through quickly. It's why some pro teams use auto shotguns even at long range, because while you're not doing damage, you're slowing him down, whether he's in a Molotov, you're slowing him down to buy time for your teammates. And all this tagging ideology behind it is to make the next shot easier, which is why it's quite easy to body head someone, where you shoot them twice in the body and in the head. Or if you're aiming near the head, then you hit chest, chest, and head. Obviously, body does more damage than head. But it's all about countering other people's movements with your movements, and acknowledging that the movements you're making subconsciously are to make your shot easier to hit. But understand that it's not only easier for you to hit, but easier for your enemy to hit as well. And sometimes it's better to just throw your movement out the window just to ensure that you don't die, regardless of how scrappy the kill is. Anyways, that was just a little bit on movement. Thanks for watching.